What is your name, please?
I'm the host of Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
I am the host of Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
I'm the host of Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals. Yeah. So
you don't even say that with passion.
Yeah, we know who the imposter is. And
yes. So will the real imposter please stand up? But yes, if you don't know, we are talking about a game show that has been on since pretty much the early 60s. It's called To Tell the Truth. And to tell the truth, we will be dishing this game show today. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Rolando.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
An original podcast
about unoriginality. This weekend was 4th of July. Did you guys celebrate? Was it canceled for you? What'd you do?
Yeah, we went to a friend's quote-unquote barbecue.
Ooh.
And I say quote-unquote barbecue because is it a barbecue if there's no barbecue to be found? I don't know.
Nice. It was nice.
It was nice. Aw. That's cool. What'd they make? Like burgers and hot dogs?
Let me tell you. No burgers, no hot dogs. How un-American,
okay.
Right? Instead, they made banh mi, which is like some Vietnamese sandwich, right? Which I have no qualms against the Vietnamese sandwich. My qualm here is where are the barbecue? Where are the hot dogs? Where are the hot dogs?
I like that creative
hamburgers.
little takeoff, like let's do something out of the box.
I don't mind being out of the box, but like it has some staples ready just in case,
So that was it, just banh mi's that
there was some
else?
other white people food.
Oh, okay.
Banh mi was the most exotic thing on the menu. It was good. I got no qualms with it, but I'm just saying.
Live up to the hype, guys.
In Trump's America, that doesn't fly. So.
Well, I personally love banh mi, so I'm a little jealous. But yesterday, I went to my sister's. They made tons of skewers. I haven't had grilled shrimp in a minute, and it was it was so delicious.
Very nice. Yeah, grilled shrimp is always delicious.
Yeah, it really is. Anything on a grill is just beautiful.
I know, right? If only.
Yeah. You wouldn't know.
I wouldn't.
All right. So today we thought we'd do something a little different. We're just going to tackle something and have some fun with it. We're doing a game show, which has been revived many times, most recently in ABC's iteration of it, To Tell the Truth, which has been airing for a couple years, still airs on Thursdays at 10 o'clock at night.
It's ABC? I thought it was CBS.
It's ABC. It was originally a CBS show.
Oh,
and then an
NBC.
NBC. Yeah,
Okay,
and then NBC and now ABC.
I got you. It looks like we started the history, so give us a little history on the show.
Well, that's the thing. So I really love game shows. I've actually been on a game show. Check me out on Ask Me Another, NPR. But game shows, they've kind of taken a bunch of different form. And back in the early days of television in the 50s and 60s, they started off as what we call panel shows, where a bunch of people are on a panel and they have to figure out something. There was a show called What's My Line, where someone comes on and they all have to guess what their line was, what their occupation was. There was a show called I've Got a Secret, where a person would come on and they would show you something, but they had a secret about that something, and the panel tried to guess the secret. And these were all created by a duo called Goodson-Todman. And almost every famous game show you've heard of, Goodson-Todman either created or produced. They also did Match Game. They also did Password. They also did The Price is Right. They were popular for most of the ones from the 50s to the 60s and early 80s. But they had a creator. His name was Bob Stewart, who created 3 of my most favorite of the Goodson-Todman shows, which was The Price is Right, which is still on.
Yeah.
Password, and To Tell the Truth.
Is Drew Carey still the host of The Price is Right?
I'm pretty sure he is.
Okay.
And To Tell the Truth has it's kind of like the most successful one at that time, which was What's My Line, but it puts on an imposter spin onto it, where 3 people come on, all claiming to be the same person. 2 of them are imposters and one of them is the truth. One of them is the real person. And the panel has to question them one by one and figure out, based on what their answers are, and sometimes overall body language, who indeed is the real person. And that's where if you've ever heard Real Slim Shady and he says, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? That's a line that comes from To Tell the Truth. I feel like To Tell the Truth's dialogue is pretty embedded in our culture without some people knowing where it's from. So you're probably wondering, how do I know this much, or how I've even seen a game show from the 60s? It actually first aired in 1959 and was pretty much consecutively running until 1978, good 20 years. They're all available on YouTube. You type in To Tell the Truth, you get literally every single episode that YouTube also just doesn't care to take down, either from like an official game show network site or just a fan show. They're up on YouTube and they're really easy to see. And I think it might be actually my favorite of the game shows, just because I really enjoy trying to see who's a liar, checking out body language. And I think there's something really interesting to the theme where it's like one of them is lying, two of them are lying, and one of them is telling the truth. I mean, I don't know. When you watched it, Rolando, first of all, had you seen it before?
The only time I had seen it was probably in the clip for Catch Me If You Can. Which I actually even forgot that clip was in there, right? Mm-hmm. No, I've never seen this. I didn't even know there were 5 seasons of this show currently running right now.
Yeah.
It's the 5th season starring
Anthony Anderson.
Right.
Yeah.
And his mom, who's a delight. But no, I've never seen this show. I'm not a big game show watcher, though. I don't really care for it.
Nothing like not even Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune.
I like hosting trivia, but I don't care about Jeopardy.
Yeah, I would say someone who's so into games like trivia and loves to have game nights at their apartment and whatnot. Bingo. You don't like watching them.
You know what? It's so passive that it's just not for me, right? Like the whole fun of like actually participating in a trivia or hosting a trivia is the actual interaction, where
Absolutely.
A show like these, I don't get anything out of it because it's just like I'm not in the audience, right? If I was in the audience, then I'd be more interested. But I'm not in the audience. I'm not a contestant, and I'm not one of the celebrity guest panels. So it's just like I don't care.
Would you want to be in the celebrity guest panel?
I don't know. Well, I feel like I would be good at guessing because like playing today, I was pretty good at like playing today, like watching the show today. I was saying it's like, wow, these celebrities are stupid.
Which one did you watch?
You don't think so? I feel like I got 75% of these correct.
Oh.
Which one? For the original one?
For whatever one that you were guessing on.
I mean, I guess we don't really have to talk about this in terms of like era, right? Because like it's the same concept for everything, right? I think there
are some slight changes, yes.
Slight. I think they introduced like new little mini games or something.
Yes. Well, so when it first aired and it was hosted by Bot Collier, and they had pretty much the same panel on, which was like kind of like the thing. You came to see the panel, which consisted of
Steve Coulier.
I'm not sure.
You know who
we
that
can
is,
look
right?
that up. Who is that?
Steve Coulier. He played
his
Uncle
name
Joey.
No, then he's absolutely not, because his name is Bud Collier. They don't even have the same name.
They might have just pronounced it differently. Collier,
maybe
Collier. It sounds pretty similar.
Collyer.
Oh wait, no, I don't think there's a Y in Coulier. Dave Coulier.
Yeah.
I called him Steve. It's Dave Coulier. All right,
Bud Collier. All right, so anyway, I was making sure that was how Bud Collier spelled his name, and it was of 2 women and 2 men, and it was always all white. This was just an era in where Black people weren't really part, or any person that wasn't white was part of the panel. So you had Kitty Carlisle, who also was very much into the show way up into her death. If you see like any version from the 70s, from the 80s, up until when Alex Trebek hosted in the 90s, Kitty Carlisle is there. She was like the staple of the show. You had also just...
Which one? Wait, which one was Kitty Carlisle?
Well, I sent you one from the 60s, 70s, and 90s. She's the one that was in all 3 of them.
Okay. I can't say I remember who that was then.
Oh, really? You didn't
Is she the dark-haired one or the blonde?
She's the dark-haired one.
The dark-haired one. Okay, yeah.
She was just like always there. Other people that were there were Polly Bergen, who was a very like for women in television, really important person back then. Peggy Olson, Tom Poston, Orson Bean, just some of the names of the people in the panel. In the 70s, we had Nipsey Russell, who was the only Black recurring panel member.
Mm-hmm.
In the 90s, from what I saw with Alex Trebek, because they revived it for 1 year from 1990 to 1991 with Alex Trebek.
Oh, so you didn't see the ones with
in the 80s? I did not.
No, not the 80s. Right before Alex Trebek took over, it was a Black host.
What was his name?
Oh, he was an NFL player, I want to say. or maybe he was let me see.
Lynn Swan.
Lynn Swan. There we go. Lynn Swan. Who
Yeah.
was odd, if I remember correctly. No. I was gonna say Lynn Swan was on Bob's Burgers, but he's not. No, Lynn Swan. I know where I know Lynn Swan from. He's from what's it called? You know the blackface scandal going on right now with 30 Rock?
Yes.
There was a scene where Jenna Maroney's character, or Jenna Maroney, that's the character, she was dressed up as black as Lynn Swan, right? And then her boyfriend was dressed up as Natalie Portman in Black Swan because they were together, two black swans. And then they were singing a beautiful rendition of "Oh Holy Night," which is so haunting because you have someone in blackface and someone, and then a guy cross-dressing as Natalie Portman in Black Swan. It's a wild show, right? And
That's
the fact that people will never be able to see this scene again is, I don't know how I feel about that because I think it's one of my favorite scenes of 30 Rock, but I understand the sensitivity around it, so I get it.
What a wild concept, though. Only I wonder who came up with that. If that was
Lynn Swan. That's why I was just because I remember I saw the name. I was like, oh, Lynn Swan is in this. I know Lynn Swan. Yeah.
Okay, so I actually didn't see that one. I saw a couple. I saw one in 1980 where Rosa Parks herself was a guest, and they had to guess which one was the real Rosa Parks.
Which
is interesting.
But they all like three black women, I hope.
And I mean, they were, of course, Rosa Parks. This is her 20 years later, and then they really put hats on them and like terrible outfits. So it was just like, okay, we're gonna make it really hard for you. But they didn't know which one Rosa Parks was. It's hard for me because the women actually did look identical, but I did get it right at the end. It was hard for me at first to determine. But even I remember I saw the original in the 60s, the black and white one, and one of them was Berry Gordy, who is the creator of Motown. They had the Supremes perform, and they were like, one of these men are responsible for the Supremes. I knew instantly who Berry Gordy was. They didn't know who Berry Gordy was. So it was just, I guess some things just...
Oh, yeah. I mean, that happened to me a couple of times, right? Where I was watching... One of the more recent ones that I saw was when Anthony Anderson was the woman or the person, right? Because they don't play by gender, right? Necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, they could have men and women, and it's just you got to figure out who accomplished what. But this person accomplished swimming the English Channel twice, and I remember seeing 4 times. I'm sorry, 4 times, right? And I remember seeing her on the news, so I knew who it was. I was just like, it's her.
Okay.
And then as I was telling Eddie, there's other physical markers. She has a very broad back, and as a swimmer, you usually get broad backs.
Yes.
And yeah, she was, and I was right, and I was just like, you know what, I deserve to be on this show as a guest panel. So
actually, then I want to kind of talk about the new iteration, because sometimes, when you watch the Alex Trebek one, they didn't really do anything different except this one round where one person would come on and make 2 different statements, and you had to guess which one was true and which one was a lie.
I didn't see that. Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that was the very last segment, which actually gave birth to a British panel show, which is pretty much that, where people make statements and you have to guess whether or not it's a truth or a lie. And they've even done this on Jimmy Fallon. So this has now become something that's getting revived too, and it would be something that I think would be fun for us to play. But that was at least the first time I saw it, was in that iteration of To Tell the Truth. But it wasn't until this year that they kind of made big changes within the To Tell the Truth concept, and I think it actually has made it more successful. So in the new one, they share their occupation, which is more interesting because it could be 2 men and it could be a woman, it could be 2 women, it could be whatever. So it makes it even harder too, I feel like, because
sometimes
it makes it more interesting when you're like, ooh, is this FBI agent this older woman here? Is it this younger man here? It really feeds off of stereotypes. I think, at least. Okay, so for the English Channel swimmer, right? There was a man who was half blind.
Yeah.
And there was a man who was all blind.
Right.
And then there was a woman. And most of the panel did not pick that woman, right?
No, actually, no one picked.
Nobody picked the woman, which was really interesting.
That's not true. I take it back. Anthony Anderson's mom picked the woman.
Yes, she was.
No, Patti LaBelle picked the woman the first time, which was the astronaut. That was the one where I think sexism kind of definitely played a role.
There you go. So, and talk about the astronaut one.
Okay, so you're thinking the astronaut.
I think she chose both women. Did she say that it was she was going with women power?
No, because Patti LaBelle only had gotten one right by the end of the thing. So, and she picked the female astronaut correctly the first time, right? Which was that one was, I think, the one where people's inherent sexism kind of shows, right? Because no one, when they were questioning her, right? No one was really asking the lady any questions. Really, they were focusing on the men because when you think of astronauts, you think of men. But I don't remember seeing her on the news as much as I remember seeing English Channel swimmer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I knew her. But I kind of figured from there was like an aloofness that the astronaut had that I kind of figured was just like I'm pretty sure it's her.
Well, it was interesting too because at the end they all got the same question where it was like,
What do you miss?
what do you miss? And one of them said my wife and children, and the other one said something like the
Pizza.
Earth, pizza or something. And then the woman said nothing.
Yeah. And it was just like, you're cold and calculating.
Yeah, which is interesting. Because when she said it, I was like, that's her. Has to be her. And nobody thought that. But with the English Channel woman, it was just really interesting because it was like, there's two blind men, and they thought that the blind men would be more capable of swimming the English Channel 4 times than the breast cancer survivor woman. Of course, when you play the show, it's kind of like, all right, it's a surprise. You know, you kind of think, oh, of course it would, like, I can't even imagine that a person with, like, that isn't capable of seeing as well could swim the English fucking Channel. That's an incredible feat. Like, me personally, who can see, I can't imagine it.
Well,
so it shows my privilege. Yeah. Well, that's also something that's super interesting about this version is that they'll do a round, and then one person will leave, and the other two that were the imposters will stay, and then they do a whole other round just between the two of them.
Yes, because they themselves have something interesting, and they haven't necessarily lied, right? They're still supposed. They've obfuscated the truth a little, in terms of like try to do the first lie, but they still have left enough truth there to help them figure out the next one.
Yes, like in one of the versions, 3 men came on. They all said, "I am a practicing witch."
Mm-hmm.
The one who was revealed, he left, and then the 2 last remaining ones were like, "My name is Harry Potter."
Let's get me. All right, so this is where. So I don't know if they did this often with the original ones, but like this is where I think on this one I was just kind of rolling my eyes and I kind of like didn't like this. I'm not a fan of like introducing like paranormal garbage that can't be really proven.
Oh. Well, that's just a personal preference.
No, but like the psychic detective one, for example, is just like this is not a fucking real thing. You're not. I can say I'm a fucking psychic detective. What are you gonna? How would you prove that? Just because she wrote a book? Did you see the picture that they picked of her? It was like of her like kind of doing like this.
Oh god,
holding an item, and I was just like, all right, this show has lost all credibility, and I never want to watch it again.
It doesn't lose
just based
credibility.
on that one
It
round.
most certainly does.
No,
Because
it
it's just like,
doesn't because it's what the person is indicating
that she's a liar.
No, that she's a psychic detective.
She's a liar.
That means that she's worked with law enforcement or some kind of agency in whatever, using her abilities to either find people or give clues or to figure out.
Which is not scientifically, but like usually has been proven that it's all bullshit though. They're all doing like just cold readings and just taking very wild guesses that prove to be right. So this is what I'm saying. It's just like I got angry when I was watching the show because it's kind of giving credibility to these fucking wackadoos out there.
I don't think it is because this is what they are. This is what they identify as.
I agree more with Eddie too, just because as the more you watch the show, you realize that they just also find people with more like obscure occupations. Just not like typical things like I'm a Wall Street banker. You're never going to find that. So of course they're going to go for like, all right, who just by looking at them and asking them a couple questions looks like they have this job as a psychic detective, you know, whether or not it's in like quotations or not.
I
think it also makes it for more interesting content. Did you see like I'm an award-winning cosplay player? That was one of them.
No, I didn't see that one.
That was one where 3 women were all dressed up and they're like, I've won many awards for doing my cosplay. You know, which is just like, it's just the off beaten track stuff.
Oh, but that's something that I feel like is credible.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
That's something that you're putting work into. Like saying I'm a psychic or I practice witchcraft is just like, okay, even practicing witchcraft, I think that one I might give a pass because like you can say you practice witchcraft. That doesn't make you a fucking witch though.
Yeah, and it's like define witch. You know, everyone
I feel like
has a different
detective
idea.
is where it's a stretch. It's just like, no, you're not a psychic detective. You've made educated guesses and you're fucking psych and medium, right? Liars, con artists.
I love how passionate you are.
I am.
This.
I'm not a fan of like. I am not a fan of like when you mix like kind of paranormal into like real law enforcement because it could be very, very harmful for victims.
No, of course, 100%.
You know, so That's like is like a pet peeve of mine.
I love this, learning new things about you.
Okay, but at the same time too, have
Oh.
you seen or you've like paranormal fools, San Diego police destroys family, news at 11. I mean, do you ever see that?
What? A paranormal what? Like a fool? Like someone
No.
who like
Like a news
paranormal,
report.
paranormal psychic,
Uh-huh.
fool's family, destroys hearts, whatever.
No. You're right. The news probably won't report on that. But like, if there is a paranormal detective out there who's trying to help out the cops, and for all we know, is usually leading down the wrong path. All right. Actually, Law and Order SVU did this great episode starring Dana Carvey, I want to say, right, where he played.
Ooh.
He was a detective. He was like he was trying to be one of those psychic detectives, right? But he was doing that in order to like mislead them because he was a criminal himself.
Oh.
Gasp.
All right, so you're getting all
That's
your
a
information
TV
from Law and
show.
Order,
As
Is
most
that-
people
as-
should. All right. I feel like
getting
if
all
you
your
watch, I
information
feel like if
from
you
Law and
watch
Order?
7 seasons of Law and Order SVU, at least a cumulative, you have a law degree.
I think has to
I
be
think-
more research here for you to make a bland statement on this.
I'm not making no. In terms of the actual research out there for the harm that like these like I guess I have qualms with like fortune tellers and like psychics and stuff because they tend to do more harm than good to the people, and there is a lot of research out there because what happens is people then put their hopes in like kind of these false hopes.
Kind of
right?
like John Edwards. you know?
Yes. You
And
exploit,
South Park did a whole great episode about that.
Right. You exploit people's hopes, and
Mhm.
I don't think necessarily there's anything wrong with giving people hope, but it's when people are putting all those eggs in that basket that's where I'm kind of am not for it, and that's why I know we're getting off topic, right? This is
Mhm.
nothing to do with the game show. My only qualm with it is that the game show kind of gave like almost credibility to her a little.
I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't.
They didn't make fun of her. I would have been making fun of her. I would have been like, okay, so you think you're a psychic? Guess this. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it's professional to bring someone on and
why?
completely
It's a
mock
game
them.
show. Who? Oh, I don't know. I maybe disagree
To
with you. There.
completely
the idea is
mock
to be
them.
objective. These are individuals. You're stating a fact, right? And then you know that there are others that are not. They are not this person.
Actually, so
right? So it's like figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's not
At
like
the end of the day, they're
bringing
playing a
someone
game.
and then making them feel bad.
So I want to actually. All right. So here we go. So kind of going with this one again with the problem. It's problematic sometimes. I'm gonna go with Frank Abagnale.
Abagnale. Yeah.
Abagnale, and here's why. I think
Okay.
that itself is problematic, right? He's a criminal. Why are we glorifying this criminal on this TV show like this? Like, yeah, he has a cool history and stuff, and it made a great movie and book, but like the way they were really taking his crimes very lightly, right? He impersonated
Well-
a fucking chief what's it called? Chief medical for it was medical school chief residency, right? He impersonated a chief residency person for a year. It's just like, dude, that's like fucking that could be straight up murder. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like, and I think it was just like, it were just too coy around it. And so when I was watching it, I kind of was getting mad. Or what about that lady who was like impersonating a fucking high school student to write a book? It's just like, all right, that's fraud. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
I saw the movie Never Been Kissed, and you know what? Like, it's not believable.
And look at how many people she kind of traumatized. Like, hello.
Yeah,
You're actually bringing up a really interesting point, is that sometimes are we too exploitive, or do we kind of embrace things too much just for pure entertainment? And, you know, back to the Frank Abagnale thing, I don't remember how they questioned him, but like, do you think it was in the way that they questioned him, or was it just bringing him on the show and giving him that light to begin with that you think was the problem?
I think for sure the bringing him on the show is the bigger problem than also
Yeah.
how kind of they played around with it, right? Like they were like making jokes.
They were like,
when they revealed the fact that like who he is, and it's just like, you're a fucking criminal. At the end of the day, you are a criminal. And look, this is nothing to do with like my beliefs on like the law, on like law and like law enforcement and stuff. I'm just saying it's just like, if you still break the law, and he broke these laws, he broke many laws, right? That it's just like, he's not like a hero in any sense of the word. He's someone who is an imposter. He's a con artist, and he's someone who's out for his own good.
Yeah.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
so to play devil's advocate here, did you see Catch Me If You Can?
I have seen Catch Me If You Can.
Did you enjoy it?
I enjoyed the movie, but as a movie, I didn't necessarily enjoy.
this is also a game too.
But that's the thing,
The
like-
but the
But
game,
It's
the
two
game
both
is-
forms
So
of
you should
entertainment.
Be like, Tom Hanks, why did you part of this movie.
Here's why also. The game, he profits off of it. Because in those early iterations of the show, the people who are if you can like get away with not being guess who is the correct person, you win a prize.
You win money, yes. Of course, you know that he is not. When he was on the show, he was not still doing it. He was a reformed one. At that point, he was actually helping out. So he was a reformed criminal who was helping out the FBI to track people who were doing.
Oh, was he?
Fake
all right,
checks.
so they should have cleared that up a little, because I wasn't under this impression. I was just like,
Well, I
kinda
mean,
It was in the movie.
That's that they state that in the movie one, and
Whoa,
then
time
also
out.
how else would he be
what happens
in the show?
movie? What happens in the movie? Again, the movie is
Well, we
also like
can't
a
take
fictionalized
the movie,
version
yeah.
of what happened.
You're right. But I mean, I don't think he would be able to be on the game show if he wasn't at that point. Like,
I don't know.
But no, I'm pretty sure that the last thing that they say is that I now use my wisdom to help out the FBI find these things. Like, that's the very last thing they say.
as a way to not pay for your own crimes. I feel like that's all.
So you don't think that we should give reformed criminals a chance at redeeming themselves?
No, absolutely not. I actually think like reform is better than just straight up punishment. I think as a whole for society. I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe the exploitation here is what kind of really irked me and kind of I found major problems with that, and I found major problems with like I said, the psychic detective and stuff. And
yeah,
it's like I feel like it's just like when you're adding this fucking malarkey, like why, like you're kind of giving credence, you're kind of really giving weight to these people who don't necessarily deserve it.
So that's interesting because I feel the same passion that you feel about exploitation on television, but I feel it more so in the format of like shows like Maury and Oprah and like Sally Jesse, where like people with disabilities come on and the host just stands there and be like, so it's hard being such a freak, isn't it? Tell us about how you've been bullied. And just like it's that format of taking a person who's like gone through either trauma or has a disability and pretty much just putting them on the stage to flaunt them for their trauma or their disability, I think is like the worst thing you could do.
I think yes, to some degree, it is exploitive, but like the other problem is though, the other person is consenting to kind of be exploitive because usually they want to like want to spread awareness of whatever they might be talking about or stuff, or create advocacy. So there is like kind of a payoff or something there, whereas opposed this is just pure entertainment, right? Where I'm not saying that necessarily like Maury or Sally, Jessica,
or Oprah, they're not pure entertainment. They kind of are.
They are, but like at the same time, they're not. All right. When I'm watching, I think they're both dangerous. I think they're both dangerous. I don't think one is a bastion versus another, right? I don't think just because like the format for a talk show it's supposed to try to bring reality and start conversation doesn't make it a hollow bastion of like we're trying to do something good here. At the end of the day, they're just trying to sell commercials, right? So I don't, that is a problem. Maybe that's my beef with game shows and like talk shows and even not news but punditry, right?
What about documentaries?
No, so documentary I think is where that one changes a little, right? And the reason for this, and the reason I'm putting those into kind of different fields, like they're showing you reality, but their agenda is to, as for television at least, is to sell commercial space, advertisement. Documentary, like
it's for the filmmaker to win an award and further his career.
No, fine, like personal gain, sure, but like at the same time though, like they're not necessarily dependent on making a profit. Documentary. I'm not saying exclusively all the time, right? But because if someone invests a lot of money in you, they want to see a return in it. But usually, for the most part, when a documentary filmmaker gets his budget, that's it. He's not raising, he's not trying to make money off of it. Well, he's trying to get fame. All right, but let's keep that separate, right? They still tell a story objectively, and you can criticize a documentary all you want and stuff. I feel like documentary, just like research papers, should be critiqued and stuff, and like read and looked at objectively. But they're not trying to sell advertisements on top of their project already. Once the message is created, that's the message. This, on the other hand, like they have to mold a message to kind of get people to stay engaged and listening and like kind of staying tuned to the show. So that's where I think,
it's so wait. Okay, so back to the game show and like how like this particular game show is like saying like psychic detective, and we're showing it in a way that we think that we're kind of normalizing it. And you don't like the fact that, one, they're normalizing it, giving them the platform to be heard, and then using this content to like advertise other stuff because it's just purely business.
Now we know. So now we know this psychic detective Rainier exists, right? And like people might try to reach out to her on. It's easier now than ever to like reach out to people on social media platforms. So someone could try to reach out to her. It's like, hey, I have this cold case I need help solving. Really putting some fake false hope into this, right? Like my daughter has been, I don't know where she is, and for all we know she's like on the other side of the world as a sex slave, right? But what the fuck is this old lady psychic detective gonna do? What is she gonna do? She's going to just like say like, all right, here's my fee, let me come over and solve this case for you, give false hope, and then that's it. And granted, I'm making assumptions here, but my assumptions here are more likely what's gonna happen than not.
I totally hear you. But I think that's kind of a rocky platform to stand on, just because film can very well, any Hollywood major studio, any other form of media can be kind of put to that exact same argument.
I agree with you, with the exception being for me narrative, and the reason why I think narrative might.
Because it's all false.
Because
it's like a story.
Yes, right? So if you choose to believe that this narrative...
Unless it's based on a true story.
No, because even if it's based on a true story, like, that doesn't mean shit.
But then that's still... It doesn't matter because...
A beautiful mind.
Your qualm is also with who watches it and how they take that information. You can't help who watches it and how they take that information. Just like you can't help it if a young boy watches the TV show Jackass and he goes off and he does the same stunts, no matter how many disclaimers you put at the end of the episode.
Right.
Like... Or you can't help who watches Fight Club and, a bunch of people go out and start their own Fight Club. Like, sometimes you can't really do anything about who takes the information, what they do with it.
Right. But that's because as the creator there, like, you just created the content. How people receive that shit, like, you have no control over that. You don't.
This game show doesn't, though, like, because they...
So game show is, here's why, right? Because it's like that level of reality. It is. There's a level of reality there that kind of is what breaks kind of that wall there between what I recognize as real and fiction, right? These are supposedly quote unquote real people and stuff. As a result, like you kind of will start to kind of not believe what they're saying, but you're supposed to like kind of have, you're taking whatever they're saying as almost like fact. And granted, like, even though it's a form of media, you're supposed to always be objective and critical. But the vast popularity of Americans aren't, or just general passive audiences aren't, right? Where as opposed to when something is fiction, though, I think my thing is just like, if it's fiction, it's fiction. And even if it's based on a true story, the word's based on a true story. This means that, it has a little bit of truth here, but for the most part, this is all fiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think... I don't even know how we got to this topic. I'm just saying, it's just like...
You brought us here.
I brought us here because I was mad that there was a psychic detective.
Because you're saying that there's certain people that should be on this show and there's certain people that shouldn't be on this show.
That's
what you're saying.
Don't think... that would be up to the producers. I just think, fine. You know what? You're right. That is what I'm saying. And I think it's true. Like, I don't think... Like, all right. How would you guys feel if there was a prostitution whore on this show? Right, and she's like saying,
first of all,
like,
what a way to call her.
What is that?
Yeah, it's from Housewives.
Oh my gosh,
Housewives of New Jersey. No, you guys have never heard this line?
I don't watch the Housewives.
Okay, so again, this is a show. Here we go. Perfect example. Problematic reality TV. Because they paint this like grand illusion of what life is, and then when people try to achieve this life, is just like not real. All right, but there's a scene in the Real Housewives of New Jersey, right, where. Well, I think it was Teresa, right? She's like screaming at Dina, who I met at Stop and Shop, working at Stop and Shop. She's screaming. I don't know what the hell they're screaming about, but she's like calls her, "You prostitution whore," and then flips the table over. It's a very iconic scene on TV.
I didn't know that's what she screamed.
That's what she screamed. Yeah. So that line, "prostitution whore," is one of my favorite lines. Let's say it was a high-end escort, right? And she says, "I slept with a president of the United States." It's just like, okay.
Ooh. I mean, come on. We already know that happens. Like, hello, Donald Trump is our fucking president. Grab him by the pussy. It's just kind of like, this is a reality. The game show's not personally responsible for it, but it's also like, this happens.
Right. So I agree with you there, right? Where this is, so that one I wouldn't object to, right? But now let's say, that was an example, right, where it's just like not really, it's just like, okay, it's not that big a deal. Now let's say we have someone who is from the Trump administration here and says, yeah, I saw President Trump make a deal with Russia. Right? Okay, now here's where I'm going to take qualm here. It's just like, okay, here is a problem. Why are you not fucking telling Congress? Why are you here on TV? It's very similar to what happened with John Bolton. Why are you not testifying in front of the courts or a body of law here so that way we can like do something about it instead of going on TV?
No,
and I think it's kind of like glamorizing crime is where I think.
Okay, now is this before he like admitted to it publicly? Is he admitting to it publicly on To Tell the Truth? Like, is this something that is in the past for him, or is this very much his present?
Oh, it's what? Like, are we talking about John Bolton in this example, or
this
the guy?
This example,
my,
yeah.
My hypothetical.
Frank Abagnale, he's speaking of his past, not his present.
That's true.
So...
He is speaking of his past. Okay. I don't know. I guess maybe I do take issue with like just having some criminals and stuff, and like I don't know. Maybe it was just how they treated it. Also, was kind of bothersome for me a little. But I think the same would apply though. If,
as
like,
lighthearted fare.
No, and here's why. I think I would be mad though if it was like, even if it was someone from the current administration who was in the past, like John Bolton is. Let's say John Bolton went on this TV show and he was just like, yes, I saw Trump. This is my secret. I saw Trump make dealings with Vladimir Putin. I saw it. It's just like, all right, even if it happened in the past, it's just like, great, you're just like kind of making light of a serious crime, right? That's number one. Number two, you didn't do anything about it. Like, you should pay some consequences too, right? And I feel like depending on like, let's say the candle was like what? Who are some of these celebrities that have been on this? Let's say Khloe Kardashian. Let's say
Raven Simone.
Let's go with Raven
Jason
Simone.
Alexander.
Yeah. Do I want to hear these people having like these making jokes of like this serious crime that could have potentially happened? I'm just like, no, I don't wanna. I don't.
I guess.
I'm just
assuming
saying, these are all crazy hypotheticals that I'm throwing out there.
That's a little one crazy. That's a little
I'm
out
just
there.
saying it's
That's
just
too out there.
I feel like maybe we should be a little more careful as to what we're throwing out there as like for these wonderful secrets and stuff. Okay. I think,
but at the same time too, how many TV shows do we have? Reality TV shows about mediums, psychics, psychic pets, ghost shows, ghost hunters. This is something people are interested in. People, they find this entertaining.
Well, don't get me started on that. I'm like,
okay, they find it entertaining. You know, I just feel like the show didn't do anything wrong by presenting the psychic detective.
So I think
they created an interesting character.
You know what? All right. So here's also, and fine, but here's my counter to that. All that programming that you're talking about is niche programming that you have to usually go out and seek. This is
not at all.
Yes.
Not at all.
It's not on prime time. It is not on something that's watched by millions of people. It's not.
I mean, John Edwards is a pretty household name.
If you have YouTube,
now, yeah.
If you have YouTube, you can see this.
Oh, that's fair. If you have YouTube, yes. But you're still seeking it out. This show is prime time. This show is it's not based public broadcast. This is broadcast, right? And broadcast still generate the highest viewerships compared to cable. I'm just saying.
Okay. So back to the format of the show. It's a little different this time because before they used to have a panel of 4 members who were constant, and you almost came to see those panel members. But now in this new show, we're constantly rotating who's on the panel. So we'll always have different 4 people, which I actually like because then it kind of freshens it up, and you get to see.
It's like D-listers.
D-listers. Well, if you consider Rita Moreno.
I'm not gonna Rita Moreno.
Or Patti LaBelle. Rita Moreno was on one, yeah.
All right, so it's usually like D-listers and one like A-lister on.
I don't think they're D-listers.
C-listers. All right. No. You're telling me Kevin Nealon? Kevin Nealon is not a C-lister? Okay. All right. Mark Duplass, I think in that panel is not someone, again, not a household name. Despite the fact that I know because I like a lot of his indie films.
So because they're not A-listers, does that mean their opinion is less?
Yes.
That they don't have. Oh my God.
No, of course not. Absolutely
my
not.
God.
As long as they're providing me entertainment, and they actually did. I'm just saying. I'm just calling it how I see it. Like, these are the people that you see on TMZ that no one cares about. How often does TMZ get like exclusive footage of like Beyonce or Jay-Z or I'm trying to think of other Lady Gaga. I don't know. I don't watch TMZ that much. I've seen SheMZ.
Yeah.
And that was
I
awful.
Shimzy. And then Anthony Anderson of Blackish, he hosts. Now, apparently Anthony Anderson went on Family Feud with his family, and his mother made such an impression to the ABC Corporation that they were like, we want your mother to be your co-host, essentially, on To Tell the Truth. So this show has a co-host, Mama Doris.
Yes.
Who kind of just sits there and, you know, tells people to hurry up and gives her opinion, and just like she's just this figure that's just there, and it's fantastic. It adds this much needed like comedy to it, especially when like some of the white women are like talking too much. Mama Doris is like, hurry up.
I know they need her at the Oscars, like instead of like the light, it's like her
just being like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I was just joking about white women, but she's just telling them in general.
No,
like,
they were
know,
consistently white women.
They were, but
I noticed that.
And I also like how Anthony Anderson himself also partakes in the questioning.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really know.
Is there a prize for these people?
So there's a prize for the person who like gets the most points at the end.
The celebrity.
The panel.
Yeah.
Who like guesses consistently right, and then but they make a bigger deal out of the big loser of the night, and they give that person like a dunce cap, and
it's
then
like,
the Mama Doris. Yeah, I think the Mama Doris either goes to the person who got the most right or someone who gets like all of them right. Which that one guy the writer, who won that night, I think he was with the Mark Duplass episode. Kevin Nealon, right? No, oh no, no. And then it's a different episode. I forgot the actor's name, but yeah, so it makes it much more like lighter. There was one episode where it was like an FBI profiler who was like creating. She was known for creating really, really effective like masks and identities.
Oh yeah. That one was a.
That was a good one because at the very end they had one where a mother was like, "I gave birth to my son's children." And so they had 3 women there, and one of them was the FBI profiler. I didn't even know. She like took off her mask, and it was her, and I was like, "That's the woman from the first round." It was actually a really good reveal.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And then the other one was Elvira.
Wait, I
don't know if you saw that one.
Which one?
The last woman was Elvira.
Oh, I didn't see that. No, I don't remember now.
Okay, it was a different episode. It was it was a lot of fun, and I never realized how fucking hot Elvira is in real life. But
that's so funny.
Anyway,
it actually just came up in conversation with Dungeons and Dragons.
She is really a
She's
beautiful
still very
woman.
attractive, yeah.
Like well into her 50s and I think early 60s, maybe even. Beautiful. I'm about her. Anyway, so this is interesting because this show actually, I think, other than like, you know, imposters and liars and body language and figuring out, you've raised such a great question about what is appropriate, like what is an appropriate occupation and what is a just appropriate subject matter to be brought onto television and taken in this way.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I think we've kind of lost that period. You know, it's like, I think that it also just depends on a person's, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say, your personal preference. You know, are you comfortable with seeing this done in a certain kind of light? You know, like there are certain things that I'm not comfortable with on television myself, but I'm not going to openly complain about it because that's something that somebody else might be okay with seeing. So like I said with Oprah, and I'm like, I don't want you to ask this person so many traumatizing questions on the air just to bring quote unquote awareness of it. I'm not personally okay with that, but I get it. People like Oprah and seen in a different light, so I'll leave it alone, you know? But I didn't realize that until today, that it's just actually kind of controversial.
Just a little. I don't know. I might be the only one making a big fuss about nothing. I might be the Karen here on this one. It's like, please think of the children. You're corrupting them.
Would you guys ever play this game?
Oh, it's fun.
You like
it?
it?
A fun thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, surprise! I actually have a version of To Tell the Truth to play with you guys right now.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Go for it.
So, have any of you ever met my mother?
No, I don't think
you
I have.
have not. All right. Well, you're gonna hear 3 recordings of 3 women who claim to be my mother.
Oh, look at you! You're all ready.
And
okay.
you have to tell me which one is my mother.
All right. So let's see.
Here we go.
My name is Ellen Pametti, and I'm Nicole's mother. Being my youngest daughter and born on my husband's birthday, I always knew Nicole was destined for great things. She's been a film lover and into history since she was 8 years old, and has always impressed me with her passion for it. I listened to almost every episode of this podcast and couldn't be prouder. Keep up the good work, guys.
All right,
Cool.
let's
Can you
hear
mute
from
yourself? Because I think it's getting the feedback from the playback. Oh, no. I take it back. Never mind.
Okay, sorry.
My name is Ellen Pametti, and I'm Nicole's mother. Being my youngest daughter and born on my husband's birthday, I always knew Nicole was destined for great things. She's been a film lover and into history since she was 8 years old, and I've always been impressed with her passion for it. I listened to almost every episode of this podcast and couldn't be prouder. Keep up the good work, guys.
And
Okay.
lastly, number 3.
My name is Ellen Pametti, and I'm Nicole's mother. Being my youngest daughter and born on my husband's birthday, I always knew Nicole was destined for great things. She's been a film lover and into history since she was 8 years old, and had always impressed me with her passion for it. I listened to almost every episode of this podcast and couldn't be prouder. Keep up the good work, guys.
All right.
All right. I think it's either 2 or 3. Can I hear a little bit of number 2 again?
Sure.
Can I ask questions?
Of course. Here's the opening of number 2.
My name is Ellen Pametti, and I'm Nicole's mother.
Okay. And then let me hear a little bit of number 3 again.
My name is Ellen Pametti, and I'm Nicole's mother.
Okay. Eddie, who are you going with?
3.
You're going with 3. Okay. I think I'm going to go with number 2.
So the answer was number 2.
Number
Okay.
2 called it.
Audio
Who's number
number
3?
1 was my sister,
Mhm.
and audio number 3 was me.
I thought it was you. I had my suspicions.
You
of
know,
just-
that's not fair. And this is why. I was looking for speech patterns that you
That sounded like
have. I was
me.
trying to pick it up if your mom.
Yeah, so
I was doing the
so
same
there's
thing.
certain words that you elongate, and I was like, wait a minute, number 3 is your mom.
So here's what I kind of went through this. I was trying to do the same thing, like trying to pick up, but number 3 sounded too similar to you, where I suspected it might have been you, and
I didn't
as
know this was an option.
as a result, I picked number 2 because I was just like, number 2 sounds like a older Nicole, so I was just like, yep, it's probably the number 2.
So I actually really wanted to get my aunt to do it, but she wasn't responding to me. So I was like, I need a third voice. So I just kind of did it myself. But I knew it would be kind of difficult. But then I was like, oh, maybe it will throw them off too much because I sound like myself. I'm sorry, but I'm glad
tricked
that,
me.
you know, you both didn't pick number 3. And Rolando, you got it right. Very good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I told
So,
you I would be great on the show.
well, I mean, maybe we can play this show on this very show.
Maybe.
That was kind of confusing.
I got you.
But yeah, so anyway, if you have some input, if maybe you want to play around with us or anything, you should reach out to us. You should email us, remakes, reboots, revivals @gmail. You can hit us up on Instagram. We're super active on that, at remakes, reboots, revivals. Find us on Facebook or on Twitter. Just search our name. We come up on Google and anywhere you listen to Apple Podcasts.
Anywhere you listen to podcasts.
I mean,
including
I'm sorry.
Apple Podcasts.
Anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yes.
Yes, the world does not end with Apple. I should remember that.
Yeah, it does.
But-
It is pretty much. It does hold us to their whims though, because
Yeah.
they're so
they got
important
me.
in podcasting.
So
Yeah.
important.
Cool. Anything else?
I mean,
Any final
that's pretty
thoughts?
much it.
Okay.
To tell the truth, I've got nothing.
Yeah. To tell the truth, I probably will never watch the show again.
I've been watching a lot of it because my girlfriend's a super big fan of
Yeah.
it. So
I
yeah.
had, like, I swear, like I told you, I had no idea the show was even on, and
There you go. So if you don't know, now you know.
yeah, 5 seasons
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
That would explain why I've seen Anthony Anderson and his mom doing like commercials for, I think, like what is it, for a phone company? Is it T-Mobile? It is. It might be T-Mobile. I've seen
mean-
it on Hulu all the time. I was just like, what? Why do I care about Anthony Anderson's mom? Now I know why.
There you go. Yeah, I don't watch like TV with commercials anymore, so I have no idea about commercials. So
You're missing out.
I guess I am. There's some great commercials out there, but Until next time, stay unoriginal.